Hi everyone, hi, it's Michelle Lloyd here, founder of United Art Space, and I am delivering workshops and webinars this week. Today I am doing one on statements and bios because I see a lot of artists making mistakes when it comes to writing their bios and statements. And sometimes just a small little tweak in the way that you're doing this can make a massive difference. So first of all, I just want to say thank you to everyone who signed up to the Hub. We've nearly had 30 people sign up already, which is amazing. And in fact, I'm thinking of putting the names of everyone on the map behind me. I'll do that this afternoon. So yes, thank you so much. It's exciting. So let me talk to you about statements and bios. I see people are hopping on, which is wonderful. And everyone needs a bio. And I think it's sometimes difficult for artists to write about their work, because when you're in the making, you go down the rabbit hole and you're just in that process and you're feeling it, and it's sometimes like a subconscious process, isn't it? And so when you come out the other side and people ask you to describe your work and talk about your work and write about your work, it stumps a lot of people. And so this is why when you delve into the why and the workshops that we've been doing, dig into that deeper meaning of how the work got to where it is today, what inspired it. And quite often we overlook these points, and these exercises that you're doing in the workshops feed into your bio and your statements. So basically, let me explain the difference. And you need these because the reason we write to supplement our work is because I was talking about this yesterday. When we're just relying on people to look at the aesthetics and make up their own opinion and meaning of the work, that alone isn't enough to convert people to sales, to grow connections. And I mean, I remember when I was at uni, the lecturers there would say, just let people just make up their own mind, and they were anti-bios and things like that. But when you're in the real world, and some people might want to produce work where they don't give too much information because they want people to interpret it the way they see it. And that's absolutely fine, but you still need a bio to say that and an artist statement to explain that. So it's important. I really think it's important. And some people think, I'm way off that, but it's best to have one ready, because I see this happen all the time. Members come in and they start to get their work out there. They get an opportunity and someone will say to you, where's your bio? Can you send us your bio? Can you send us your statement? And they go, I've been asked for this statement, a bio. And so it's inevitable. When you start planting the seed and getting your work out there and carving your place, you will get asked for a bio, definitely. A statement, maybe. Hello, I can see people hopping on. Oh, Louise, it's so lovely to see you. So nice to be able to catch you live on what feels like forever. I know, I haven't seen you for ages. How are you? Magda, hello. Pete, good morning. How are you? Shirley, hello. Lovely to see you, Shirley. So, first of all, let's talk about the bio. So, your bio is all about you. And it is a biography. And so it's usually a short biography and a long biography. And it's always written in the third person. Michelle is the founder of United Art Space. Shirley is an artist from South Africa painting portraits. It's always written in the third person. And the reason for that is because the bio is usually published in magazines. The gallery will publish your bio, and so it's lifted from your site and used in publications, so they don't have to write it up. So it always looks like it's been written by someone else, but usually you've written your bio yourself. Sometimes galleries, they will write your bio. So Sharon's gallery helped her write her bio. So sometimes they are written by the person, but it's always in the third person. And so your short bio is your very quick snippet of, the very, very most important points about you. So it would be, Shirley is a portrait artist specialising in oils. She's from South Africa, and her latest works explore and it would be that. It would just be a few lines, so that if you were being featured in a magazine, or you think of it as your introduction. So it's people introducing, we are writing, we are showing the work of, and this is their little bio. And so that's your little snippet of you. And then your long bio is more about your journey, and your bio can be in any format, but it usually is in time, in a time scale, showing the main points of your development from how you got to where you started to where you are today. And they can be very long, some of them, and depending on the length of time you've been an artist. Sometimes they're quite short because there might not be that much yet to talk about. And know that your bio will keep changing. So your bio and your statement will change all the time. They're never fixed. And usually they change every year. But it really depends on you as the artist, and your direction and what you're working on and things like that. Let me just talk about some of the things that could go into your bio. So some of the things that might go into your bio might be where you were born, what you studied if you studied, and if you're self-taught, be proud, because there are lots and lots of self-taught artists, and there's nothing wrong with that, and it's definitely not something to hide. So put it in your bio. Big accomplishments, what inspires you, what are the passions you have, collections that your work are being featured in. So maybe you've got work in shows or things like that. Your own vision, your beliefs, your creative process, and show the love of your, the passion and the love for your work through your bio. And where your art journey began is always a good one. So there's some of the things that you can use in your bio. But remember it's really important to have that short bio at least. So working on that short bio is really important. And it's quite good practice to always start, when you're writing, to start with a hook. And so a hook is something interesting and something to pull the reader in. So a lot of artists make mistakes of saying, Michelle is an artist who is inspired by the world. And those kind of descriptions are repetitive. So you'll see those quite often in statements. And when you start off with something that's very, very common that other people seem to write over and over again, you lose interest. So what I mean by the hook is pulling something out. And this is when you dig into your why, pulling something out that's really interesting, something that's different, something that, starting with the way that makes people go, oh, this is different. And that can take some practice. One thing I will say is just get going. Don't aim for perfection on this, because done is better than perfect. Having something, and then you'll get feedback, and then you'll tweak it, but don't stall on this. And I'm going to talk now about the statement, and then I'll give you some tips when you're writing in a second. So that's the bio. So your statement, your artist statement, is about the work. It's and then I think this is where artists get confused, because it's artist statement, and I think people think it's about the artist, but it's not. It's about the work. And your artist statement is written in the first person. This is personal from you. And so your bio could be featured anywhere else. It could be written by anyone, and your statement is personal. You wrote this, and this is what your work is about. Your artist statement usually talks about a collection of work. And that's what we've been talking about in these workshops, is working in collections. So usually your statement talks about that body of work, what inspired it. It's inviting people to step into the work on a deeper level and help them to connect with the work. So written in the first person, and it's dipping into the why, what inspired it, what's it about, what's it made from, how did you make it, what's the process, how long did it take. Things like that can go into your statement. You don't usually talk about yourself in the statement, it's about your work, unless there was something like there was an experience or something that inspired the work. So it's always related back to the body of work, and that's how you talk about that usually in a statement. I think I've got written down somewhere. Your statement. I was just thinking about words. Your statement, as it's personal, it can be anything. It could be a poem. You know, if that ties in with your work, you could turn your statement into a poem that talks about your work. It's very personal. It's an extension of yourself. It reflects the work that you've made. So there are no rules with a statement, but be mindful that people have a short attention span. So I always keep things to about, a few paragraphs. The short bio, about 140 to 500 words. Maybe a statement could be about the same, but like I say, there are some statements that are longer because it suits the work. But the work, when you're writing the statement and you're thinking about the work, I always think about the way you describe is thinking as if someone can't see the work. And in the statement, you want to describe it so that people start to paint a picture of what it is. So they're reading that statement and they're already starting to visualize the work and imagine, you making it. And so that's a great way to think about your statement, is to think about if you're writing for someone who can't see it. So you really want to help people connect. And actually, when you're writing statements and you get to know your who, you can be really clever with your statements and your bios, because you can then start to include the desire and all these things that we've been talking about in your statements as well. So you can really start to help people connect with the work on an emotional level, on a deeper level. So that it's triggering that desire and getting people to really, really connect with your work. But I'm talking way down the line here. If you're at the very, very beginning stages, just get going. Start with something, write something, and get going, and then tweak it. And as you go through tweaking over time, you will adapt all these tips that I'm giving you now. So some tips on writing, and then I'm going to come to the questions because I can hear the pings in the background. So when you're writing, like I say, always think about the hook at the beginning. So drag them in, sorry. Hook them in, not drag them. Hook them in and attract them in to read more by using a hook at the beginning. And sometimes don't get stuck on how you're going to start a bio or a statement. That usually comes at the end. So starting a piece of writing is always the most tricky part. So what I would say is just write. Start writing. Don't worry about grammar. Don't worry about spelling. Don't worry about how it sounds. Just start writing and then edit. Because your first draft will always be a first draft. You never write a statement or a bio first draft and nail it. Never. So when you start writing and start doing the worksheets inside the hub, we've got huge questionnaires to help you dig out all your why and the answers to your statement and your bios. So there's a whole lesson on this. And there's also a whole lesson on writing your statements. I'll share with you in a second. But so everyone joining the hub, you will get support and help with writing these bios, and I will give you feedback as well when you've written them. And so another thing is, so when you've started to draft, start to think about using visual language that helps people paint a picture in their mind as they're reading. So if you can replace words with something that's more descriptive and what's the word I'm looking for? Evocative. When you evoke a feeling in someone, again, this comes with practice. We've got a member inside our hub called Sylvan, and she is a copywriter and she's amazing at writing, and she's offered to help people with this, to just give some tips to people on how you can use more descriptive language. She's amazing at writing her statements. You feel like it's like a story, and as you read it, you're kind of reading a story. It's incredible. And that's the kind of statement and writing that draws people in, the ones where we can paint a picture as we're reading it. But it comes with practice, and don't worry if you're not there yet. Just get something going. I keep saying this because I see so many people get stuck, and then they say like, oh, this is just a rubbish statement. The first few drafts will be rubbish, usually, unless you're a fantastic writer. And then what you need to do then is edit every single word. So I've read so many statements and so many bios that are littered with unnecessary words, describing words, adjectives, and you need to really look at every single word in your bio, in your statement, and ask yourself, does that word need to be there? Does it need to be there? If not, take it out. Try and edit so that you shrink this right down to the most necessary words. Take everything else out. So you want it as short and concise as possible. And make it interesting. Don't state the obvious either. This is another thing. And usually, I think when you first write a statement or a bio, you do, when I say state the obvious, here, I mean, it's like in the why. I'm an artist and I have always loved making. It's those kind of statements that kind of every artist could say about themselves. And this is why digging into your why is so important, because it pulls out that uniqueness in you. So when you write your statement, it sounds different to every other statement out there because you've done the work, you've delved in, and you're digging something out that is different to everyone else. And that's what makes a beautiful, beautiful statement, when you really dig deep into that why and it stands out from everybody else's. And so that's the difference. And then you can even have individual art statements. So your artist statement is about the collection of work. Your individual art statements are about the individual pieces, and they're very important as well, because also just to talk about your statement will go on your website. Your statement would go with your collection of work when it's exhibited. Your statement can even just, when you've written it, will start to come out in conversation. So you'll verbalize it as well. So writing these things are so important because the more you do it, the more fluent you become in speaking about your work as well. And the individual artwork statements are very, 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 very important and overlooked. Even if you write the statement and it goes nowhere, just like I say, to pull that out, to really connect with it. If you come to sell and someone asks you, oh, tell me about this work, when you've written the actual statement, you've processed it in your brain. So you'll surprise yourself. It's like when you're practicing for an exam and you feel like you just don't remember anything. And then when you sit in the exam, you surprise yourself and all this stuff comes out. Well, maybe it didn't for you, but you know what I mean? Sometimes you surprise yourself when you're put on the spot. For presentations, I've done this where I've written a presentation and I feel like none of it's gone in, and then I stand up to speak and all of a sudden the words come out and they've gone in there somewhere. So writing these things, it's going in somewhere, I promise you. So and I've had this so many times. Anna Kalee, I remember she said that she'd written all these statements and then all of a sudden she went to an exhibition, exhibited her work, and was asked about it, and all of this stuff just poured out of her. And she was like, wow, didn't even realise that it had got in. And so this helped her sell. And this is all amounting to the bigger picture. So the individual work statements are very important. Then they can go on your website when you're selling individual pieces. You can print them out and put them next to, you're seeing galleries do this, especially museums now. You can listen on audio, can't you, about the individual artworks? People love it. So it's just, again, another way to help people connect and understand your work. So they're the main things. Your bio, having a short bio and a long bio. Your artist statement, written about your work in the first person, about your collection of work, and then your individual artwork statements. I'm just going to flip and show you now inside the hub. So for those who are joining the hub, you'll get access to this lesson. So this lesson is all about it's all about your statements and your bios and branding and putting yourself out there. And in here you get loads and loads of examples of people who are writing statements and bios. So I'll give you lots of examples of the ways that you can word things and the way that you can use your statements and your bios in your marketing. And then in here I've just got this little table for you so that you always remember the difference. So you can print this out. So it tells you the differences between everything. And you'll see some other things here, your mission statement and vision, which is also really important. This is what keeps you focused. In fact, Sharon's interview yesterday, someone said to me it was so important to hear that Sharon has a mission printed out in her studio all the time to keep her on the right path. And she's creating a collection of work. So having a mission statement or a vision statement is really important. And all these other things, don't worry about these at the moment, but we talk about all of these inside the hub. You'll learn how to do all of these. But for now, I just want you to know the difference between the bio and the statement, because I do see that mistake happening a lot where people are talking about themselves in the first person and it should be the third person, and talking about themselves in their artist statement where that actually should be in your bio. So yeah, this is a really amazing lesson. I love this lesson. So you'll get that when you join the hub. I'm just going to flip my screen back around and now answer some of the questions. Sharon, she's a newbie. Hi Sharon, nice to have you here. Sharon, if you're new here, have you watched the workshops yet? I'll put the link at the top if you haven't, because they come down on Tuesday and they're amazing, so go and check them out. Louise, I'm good, thank you. Just say busy, finally found my dream job. As an art and design technician. Oh my gosh, we talked about that years ago and you finally done it. Well done. Making room work in the evenings. That's amazing. It's amazing. I see people writing a short bio in the first person galleries. Is that wrong? I mean, it's not wrong. It's not wrong. But you need one in the third person because if people ask you for one, so as soon as you start to get approached by people and people want to feature you, they will ask you for your bio. And if it's written in the first person, they can't use it. So you have to have one in the third person. Now, some artists like to do things their own way, which is fine. You can break the rules. And so some people have a bio in the first person because they like it to be personal and they like it to be, this is written from me. And that's fine. That's fine. It just means you'll need to have one in the first person and the third person, I would recommend. But you know, when it comes to showing your work, and it's very personal, you know, if you want it to be all in the first person, then that's fine, I think. Jane found me at last. Hello, Jane. Jennifer, hello, lovely. Do you have an example on the Hub workshops? Oh, Gemma, yes. Inside the Hub, there's lots of examples. I will send you the link, Gemma. In fact, I can stick that link inside the Hub today to remind everybody, because there's this full lesson giving you examples of bios and statements, yes. And I think there's also a great conversation inside the Hub as well, where we went out looking at statements at a big art fair and we took pictures of them, and there's loads of examples as well, Gemma, inside the Hub, so I'll send you the link to that as well. If I might forget, I'm going to write it down quickly. If not, Gemma, can you ask me again inside the Hub, please? Good morning, Kevin. Oh, lovely. I can't believe you're joining the Hub. I'm so excited. Hemingway is a good free online editor. Oh, thanks for that tip, Jane. Oh, Pete says this is gold for me. Thank you. Oh, I'm so pleased, Pete. I'm so pleased. Hannah says, hi all. I've written my bio, which is on my about page of my website. Wonderful. And the bio section of my Facebook. Yes. I'm a bit confused about where I put my artist statement though. My website is set up like this. If it helps you to help me. I've done the lesson in the hub, but I'm just being dense. No, you're not. I'm good at writing for individual pieces of art that flows well, and I'm pleased with what I write for my artwork. I need to sell my artwork in order to fund my next collection, but they currently fit into about 5 collections. Sigh. That'll be why you're struggling to write your statement. So what I would say to that is, so once you've written your statement, so on your website, I haven't got time to take a look just yet, but I will inside the hub, Hannah, because Hannah, you're a member, so I will have a look. If you could write a post inside the hub and link your website, I will take a look. And your artist statement, so if you've got a website and you've got the about section, which is about you, perfect, then you usually would have a gallery or a place where your artwork is shown, and that's where you would have your statement. So if you've got like a collection of work on your website, you would have your statement with that collection of work. If you've got another collection of work, you'd have that statement with the other collection of work. Does that make sense? So that you're not putting all random pieces of work all over your gallery. Start to categorize them for people, and supplement each one with a statement. And then if you ever show them or they get written about, you just pull out that statement for each collection of work. 5 is quite a lot, but then saying that, it really depends how different the collections are as well. Like if there's only subtle differences and there's still something linking them together, then you don't have to separate them out. It's if they're very, very, very different that I would separate them out. If they've completely been inspired by different things, they speak a different voice, then, but if there is something underlying that's tying them all together, then that would be the statement and the explanation that says, you know, these might look very, very different, but actually they're born from this feeling or idea or belief that I have. Does that make sense, Hannah? Fashionably late, Kevin. Well, I was fashionably late as well today because Saturdays are kids' gymnastics and swimming. And things get crazy here on Saturdays. I have no idea what my work is really about yet. I'm making work based on some of the wildlife experience I had last year when I was travelling, just because it brings back good memories to me and I enjoy making it. If that's where you're at right now, Louise, beautiful. Stick with that, because again, we have to honour where we're at right now, and especially when we're creating new collections, we start back at the beginning. And when you start back at the beginning, you don't have an artist statement yet because you haven't created the work yet. So your artist statement comes after you've made the work. So at that point, you'll have a bio and you'll be just sharing your experiences, and you'll have a mission, loose mission maybe, that's what you've just stated there. That is your mission. I'm experiencing. But when you're playing, who knows where it's going? It's exciting, isn't it? So your artist statement comes after the work is done. Gemma saying, and that is the basis of your statements. Yes. Not yet. You haven't watched the workshops. Oh, you're in for a treat, Sharon. I'll put the link at the top when I've hung up here. Hey, Joe. Everyone's a bit late today. It's the weekend, isn't it? Oh, thanks, Hannah. You'll post it inside the hub. Thank you. Thank you very much. Right, that's it. So that is the difference between statement and a bio. And if you would like me to help you write your statement and your bio, and you would like help from other people inside our membership where we've got other artists who have used the lesson, there's a big lesson. It's not that big. It just breaks everything down, shows you examples. And you can post in our hub for feedback from me and feedback from the other members as well. And we've also got Sylvan, who is an amazing writer who will give you help and advice as well. So if you'd like to join the hub, I would love it. And I will put the link at the top. We close enrollment on Tuesday. And we've had like nearly 30 people join already. So it's brilliant. And tomorrow I'm back. What am I talking about tomorrow? I think it's galleries tomorrow. I'm talking about how to approach galleries. This is a big, big, big question that I get asked all the time, so I'll be talking about that tomorrow. So have a wonderful, wonderful day. And if you have any questions about the hub and joining the hub, then let me know. I might do another Q&A later actually about the hub, because I've got loads and loads of questions that I haven't had a chance to get to yet. So I might do another video a bit later this afternoon just to hop on and just answer everyone's questions about that. But have a lovely day, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye bye.